This week is Palm Sunday, so named after the palm branches that people picked up off the ground or cut down from trees and waved to shout with triumph as Jesus rode on a donkey and entered Jerusalem into the city. But this week, my mind has been as much on the Christmas story as it has been on the triumphant entry into Jerusalem of Jesus. Why? Well, last Sunday was Census Day here in England and Wales. And as I filled in my census online, I was reminded that according to Luke's Gospel, it was a census that was called by Emperor Augustus that led Mary and Joseph to taking a journey from Nazareth in the north to Bethlehem in the south to register. There's no mention of a donkey in Luke's Gospel, but it's perhaps a faux pas that is helpful for us today, linking these two journeys, Christmas and Palm Sunday, together. You see, I was thinking about how the call for a census in some ways can be seen as the people in power using their power to play God by seeking to know who is who. For Joseph and for Mary, it was the first census, the first time that people had been asked to register. By registering, the ruling powers now knew who was who, and perhaps even where they were. Certainly, because the people had to go to their hometown, where they had come from was now known. Living in the 21st century, we're quite used to other people having details about us. Type Dan Bulsden into a Google search and it will come up with all sorts of stuff that will soon tell you all sorts of things about me. But up to this point in history, to be known was not something that would be seen in the same way. You might be known by your local community, a few traders in other places perhaps, family if they lived elsewhere. And for the faithful, of course, they were known by God. But the idea of being registered in a society or country was not normative. The opening line of Psalm 139 holds much more significance, I think, when we recognise that to be known had a very different emphasis and a much more intimate one before that first census. "O Lord, you have searched me and you know me," says the psalmist. And so I wonder, given all of time and space, why God chose this moment when a census was to be taken that would make the unknown known, that would change the societal and economic map, that would have an impact on the dynamics of power for the future, as the time when the Word to be made flesh and dwell among us. 30 years or so on, Jesus' journey on a donkey into the city of Jerusalem comes. And depending on which gospel account we read, there are palms waved, though not in Luke's account, and cloaks laid on the ground, but not in John's account. And it's commonly titled something along the lines of Jesus' triumphant entry into Jerusalem. But actually, it's not the triumph that we might expect. The moment is once again a particular one, because as Jesus entered Jerusalem by the east gate, Pilate was entering by the west, in full military procession with soldiers in armour and sword, probably horses and chariots. Jesus' entry is distinctive and different, almost to the point of comedy. Instead of swords, there are tree branches. Instead of soldiers clothed in armour, the people declothe themselves and lay down their clothes on the ground. Instead of horses and chariots, there are disorganised crowds and Jesus riding a donkey. Jesus is playing with power by subverting expectations, saying, "I'll be king, I'll be saviour, but not the king or saviour that you will expect. Just you watch me." Jesus has been challenging power in many ways for many months, and it finally comes to a head in Jerusalem, when Jesus is arrested, when he's put on trial and crucified. But while Jesus can be said to be playing with power, he was not playing with God, because Jesus, of course, was God. Mere days later, what happens? Well, spoiler alert, Jesus shows the true power of God and is raised to life again, much to the surprise of everybody. While the sort of society we live in today is a far cry from that of Jesus' day, Jesus' call continues for us to pick up our palms and challenge the misuse of power, to challenge institutions and regimes that play God, and put our one true God, who truly knows us for who we are, beautiful and wonderful beings made in God's image with power and capacity to love and do amazing things, at the centre of our very being. So friends, what palms are you going to pick up and wave today?